old new. I am Djinn St. Baptiste, and welcome. I am so terribly sorry that I posted the wrong time for this video to come up because I just cut and pasted everything and didn't think about it. So my terrible apologies there. Thank you all who are out here. Right now, I see House of the Conqueror, my great friend Johnny, who is going to be away for a little while. Johnny, I hope everything goes great. Episode Club, that would be Mackenzie Alberans. Hello. Bron Holler, the one spanner who rules them all. Thank you so much for being here. Katrin C. from my point of view. We have Peter Griffin. And also, hello and thank you to any and all of you who are watching this afterwards. I'm excited because we've just finished Norse mythology, and now we're going to be moving into another piece of work by Gaiman, which is my favorite of his collection of short stories, which is Trigger Warning. So we're going to be going into that. I'm going to pick a few stories from here. We're going to be talking about this in a little while. We'll be talking about the book in a little bit. And I want people's opinions. If you have or have not read them, I'm going to give you a quick overglimpse of each story in this book. There's one that I'm picking that I'm reading. And the two others I want the people who are here in the chat or in the comments afterwards to choose to discuss. And then we're going into a whole different area, which we'll be talking about in a moment. So, how is everybody today? Hold on, I gotta pull one thing up here. Because my chat is not showing properly. And I'm sorry, I should have got this fixed beforehand, and I did not. Which I apologize for profusely. But I just want to see what all of you amazing people have to say. Now, has anybody here read this book yet? Has anybody here read Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman yet? And I'm sorry, I keep pausing. I'm having trouble being able to follow the chat because I'm having some issues with it. Okay, Bron Holler, welcome back. It's so good to see you. Episode Club, you're starting on Norse mythology. That's great. That's awesome. Trigger Warning, I think this is a great book for people to pick up because it's... I think Neil Gaiman, obviously, is probably one of the greatest authors of our time. But every author, even if they are talented enough to have more than one type of motif they can use has their best, and for him, it's the short story. I love his graphic novel work. I love his straight up novels. I love his nonfiction. I mean, it's good. He's just a great fracking writer. But Neil Gaiman's short stories, awesome. And trigger warning, I definitely recommend getting it. So we're going to go over the stories that are in here in a little bit. Some people who only come here on Wednesdays for episode review might be a little surprised. I'm a little formally dressed, not too formally dressed, just a waistcoat and a tie. But this is about as informal as I generally get. Normally on Wednesdays, I just totally dress down for all of you because we try and make it cozy and comfy and all that. But you know what? Let's bring the 20s back, okay? Formal wear, men, wash your fracking hair, put on a tie, and look nice when you go out. Look nice when you go out. It feels good. It feels good. Put on a shirt and tie to go to the grocery. It feels good. Okay, that's my sales pitch for bringing the 20s back because it's the 20s now. See if anybody likes it. People like walking around in their pajamas way too much. And Johnny only wears a tie when he self-stimulates me, which we won't. I don't think we need to go into. So, how was everybody's New Year? That's what I have to ask before I get into this episode. Did everybody have a good New Year? I was going to do a stream last night, like a midnight stream, but everybody had things going on, so it sounded better not to, so I didn't. But did everybody have a good New Year, or is it everybody in a good spot thus far? Yes, Shelly, long time no see. It's good to see you back here. Welcome once again. Episode Club says that her New Year's Eve was boring. I was excited for the first time in 22 years. I had the evening off. So for the first time in 22 years, I was not getting off at like 2:30 in the morning, worried about all the drunks who were on the road. Like I was home and safe in my own little place, and it was very nice. House of the Conqueror. No, my friends aren't boring. My friends are pretty awesome. That's why they're my friends. So let's talk about this book. So nobody here has said that they have read it. Which, if anybody, I looked today. You can put it on Amazon for $12.99 in the U.S. I'm going to do, while I'm doing my research for the next big project, which we've talked about, and I'll talk about in a moment. While I'm doing my research for that, I'm going to do a few short stories from this book, which for me is my favorite short story collection that Neil Gaiman did, and quite possibly my favorite piece of work that he did. And this is trigger warning. So the one story I am absolutely going to have to cover is The Return of the Thin White Duke. But I'm going to give you an overview of each of the stories in here, and in the chat or in the comments, anybody who wants to vote for which other two stories I cover, please do so. We'll be doing that in a moment, but and I might get demonetized, or even this video might even get ripped down, but I'm going to read the introduction here because I think it's so great. And it describes this book so well, and if this is not a selling point for this, then I don't know what would be. There are things that upset us. That's not quite what we're talking about here, though. I'm thinking rather about those images or words or ideas that drop like trapdoors beneath us, throwing us out of our safe, sane world into a place much more dark and less welcoming. Our hearts skip a rat-a-tat drumbeat in our chests, and we fight for breath. Blood retreats from our faces and our fingers, leaving us pale and gasping and shocked. And what we learn about ourselves in these moments, where the trigger's been squeezed, is this: the past is not dead. These are the things that wait for us, patiently, in the dark corridors of our lives. We think we've moved on, put them out of our minds, left them to desiccate and shrivel and blow away. But we're wrong. They've been waiting there in the darkness, working out, practicing their most vicious blows, their sharp, hard, thoughtless punches into gut-killing time, until we came back that way. The monsters in our cupboards and our minds are always there in the darkness, like mold beneath the floorboards and behind the wallpaper. And there's so much darkness, an inexhaustible supply of darkness. The universe is amply supplied with night. What do we need to be warned about? We each have our little triggers. I first encountered the phrase trigger warning on the internet, where it existed primarily on a way to warn people of links to images or ideas that could upset them, or trigger flashbacks or anxiety or terror, in order that the images or ideas could be filtered out of the feed, or that a person reading could be mentally prepared before encountering them. I was fascinated when I learned that trigger warnings had crossed the divide from the internet to the world of things that you could touch. Several colleges, it was announced, were considering putting trigger warnings on works of literature, art, or film to warn students of what was waiting for them. An idea that I found myself simultaneously warming to. Of course, you want to let people who may be distressed know that something might distress them, while at the same time being deeply troubled by. When I wrote The Sandman, it was being published in a monthly comic. It had a warning on each issue, telling the world that it was suggested for mature readers, which I thought was wise. It told potential readers that this was not a children's comic. It might contain images or ideas that could be troubling, and also suggest that if you are mature, whatever the hell that happens to mean, you're on your own. And for what they would find that might disturb them, or shake them, or make them think something they'd never thought before, I felt that was out of their own lookout. We're mature. We decide what we read or do not read. What we read as adults should be read, I think, with no warnings or alerts beyond perhaps enter at your own risk. Kind of like watching this show. We need to find out what fiction is, what it means to us, our experience that is going to be unlike anyone else's experience of the story. We build our stories in our heads. We take words and we give them power. And we look out through other eyes and we see and experience what others see. I wonder, are fiction safe places? And then I ask myself, should they be safe places? There are stories I read as a child I wished once I'd read them that I had never encountered because I was not ready for them and they upset me. Stories which contained helplessness, in which people were embarrassed or mutilated, in which adults were made vulnerable and parents could be of no assistance. They troubled me and haunted my nightmares and my daydreams, worried and upset me on profound levels. But they also taught me that if I was going to read fiction, sometimes I would only know what my comfort zone was by leaving it. And now, as an adult, I could not erase the experiences of having read them if I could. There are still things that profoundly upset me when I encounter them, whether it's on the web or the word or in the world. They never get easier, never stop my heart from trip trapping, never let me escape. This time, unscathed. But they teach me things and they open my eyes. And if they hurt in ways that make me think and grow and change. I wondered reading about college discussions whether one day people would put a trigger warning on my fiction. I wondered whether or not they would be justified in doing it. And then I decided to do it first. There are things in this book, as in life, that might upset you. There's death and pain is here, tears and discomfort, violence of all kinds, cruelty, even abuse. There's kindness too, I hope, sometimes. Even a handful of happy endings. Few stories end unhappily for all participants, after all. And there's more than that. I know a lady called Rocky who's triggered by tentacles and who genuinely needs warnings for those things that have tentacles in them, especially tentacles with suckers, and who, confronted with an unexpected slice of squid or octopus, will dive, shaking behind the nearest sofa. There's an enormous tentacle somewhere in these pages. Many of these stories end badly for at least one of the people in them. Consider yourself warned. Now, if I may, can anybody give me a better way to start a book than that? And that's what I love about this book is that life's gonna throw shit at you that you aren't ready to deal with, or it's shit you've dealt with before that hurt a lot, and you're gonna have to deal with the second time, and you just go with it. But I love the term trigger warning, and to make it the title of your book, I think is absolutely freaking brilliant. I've been looking back here in the comments, and nobody has told me any like horrible New Year's stories. Nobody woke up with somebody they've never met before, or in the middle of a goat pasture, or anything like that. I guess we're all getting old. So, Neil Gaiman's Trigger Warning. It's a collection of short stories, and there's some great ones here. Absolutely amazing stories in here. So the one that I'm certainly going to be going over, and this will be next week, is The Return of the Thin White Duke. Now, I'm gonna wait 1 minute and see if anybody knows who the Thin White Duke is. Or am I that old? Shelly, you went to your mother-in-law's. Do you know what the difference between in-laws and outlaws is? I think I've told this joke on my channel before, but if not, outlaws are wanted. It says so on the sign. All right, ding, ding, ding. Braun Holler, the one spanner who rules them all, knows what I'm talking about. Yes, it's pretty cool. It's actually a quote from a song by Bowie, and uh, Neil Gaiman is very good friends with Yoshitaka Amano, who any gamers out there, Yoshitaka Amano has done most of the concept art for most of your Final Fantasy games. Absolutely amazing artist. I would get an Amano tattoo, but literally my tattooist told me, he's like, I can't make this look this good with ink. But yeah, Yoshitaka Amano uh, was a very good friend of Neil Gaiman's. He actually, if you get the opportunity, you can check out uh, the Dream Hunters. It's done as a storybook with Yoshitaka Amano illustrations, and Gaiman writes it as a storybook as opposed to as a book or a comic. It really, really good. Also ridiculously hard to find. I have mine in hardback stuck in a Mylar bag, but that's because I'm a book snob, and you all know this, right? But so he did some drawings for Bowie and his wife and mom, and Yoshitaka Amano asked if Neil Gaiman would write a story, and this is just such a cool story. So I really hope somebody like picks that up and runs with it. And now I'm reading the comments and like I'm trying to sound all serious, but I can't. Let's see. Oh, it didn't happen. Would have been nice. Horrible enough. Oh, episode club. Did I trigger you, Mackenzie? Well, I hope I still see you Friday to talk about some silence. And Brown Holler spit out her coffee. Yes. So, funny side note before I really get into this book, which I'm just doing an overview of, I'm going to tell all of you what stories are in this book. The Return of the Great White Duke, I am covering. I'm going to cover two more while I'm doing my research for the next big project, which I hope everyone's excited about, which is going to be the mythology of Looney Tunes. And I'm hoping to get some really cool guests on here to give their thoughts and ideas about this. Um, so I'm going to be shopping that out. That's why this is going to take a few weeks to get that out. Plus, I really want to have my research down because I kind of wrote a check with my mouth that I couldn't cash with my ass immediately. And then I'm like, no, I need to like really research this. Like I know this is here, but I really need to check this out. And so in the meantime, I'm going to do three short stories from this short story collection. The last one we did was Smoke and Mirrors, and we did three short stories from that. Now we're going to do three short stories from this, and probably as the next pause between things, we'll do three short stories from another collection of his. He has four, if I remember correctly. I have a lot of books. I need to go through them again. But so that's the one I want to talk about. I will give an overview of the others in just a few moments. But the first thing I want to ask before I do that is everybody's year good so far? And yes, this is totally an excuse for me to like get myself sorted and so forth. But I do want to know how everybody's doing so far this year. All 36 to 12 hours that it's been. And I'm going to let you sort that out really quick while I get up for just a moment. Oh, Peter, Illinois legalized today? Like fully or just medically? Ohio, we have medical legal, which I'm not trying to tell people to go out there and get stoned. There are people who it. I'm not endorsing or condoning or condemning anything. There are people who that helps, and that's so much better than like Benzedrine and any benzos for that matter, or opioids. So yeah, yeah, Ohio we have medical, but we don't have like just full across the board legalization. So I'm curious about that. Okay, Braunholler, you know what? I'm fucking moving to Australia. You know what? I'll I don't know. You come up with some job for me to like just like live in your closet, and that'd be fine. Because like day one at the beach, day two lazy day at home. I don't care if you live on a continent that like every single fucking thing on that continent can kill you. Like, yeah, you get to surf all the time. Spend the day at the beach. It's not fair. Not fair. Of course, I always like anytime my kid was little, I always quoted my grandmother, and one of her favorite things to say was, oh, "How about I do your books, Braunholler? I hate cleaning. Like, I want to hire a maid for my own house. How about I do your books? I'll cook your food." I'll uh I'll make you a playlist every day. Any of that. I freaking hate cleaning. Like, yeah, if I won the Powerball, the first thing I would do is hire a maid. Like, I'm not gonna move someplace bigger. I moved someplace smaller to like not have so much space to manage. So I'm not going to move someplace bigger, but I would love to have a freaking maid. Oh, that would be amazing. So look through the comment. Apparently, nobody has read this yet. So if you get the opportunity, you can find it. I know it's on Audible. I know you can pick it up online or at most bookstores. And at least to me personally, it is Neil Gaiman's best collection of short stories. Might be because it's the most recent, might be because, we're two men who are very similar in age. I think he's like 7 years older than me or something like that. But there's so many great stories in here. So I want everyone else's opinions. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to give you the titles of these short stories. And I want everybody's opinions. Brown Holler, I'll read books to you. Yeah, I can massage. But I'm in pain more often than you are because you're in much better shape than I am. So I'm just going to give you the names of the different stories in this book. And I think this would be the best way to pick them. As I said, the one that I'm absolutely going to do is The Return of the Thin White Duke, which I will be doing for probably the last week of this. But the others are called Making a Chair, A Lunar Labyrinth, The Thing About Cassandra, Down to a Sunless Sea, The Truth is a Cave in the Black Mountains, My Last Landlady, Adventure Story, Orange, A Calendar of Tales, The Case of Death and Honey, The Man Who Forgot Ray Bradbury, Jerusalem, Click Clack the Rattlebag, An Invocation of Incuriosity, and Weep like Alexander, Nothing O'Clock, Diamonds and Pearls, A Fairy Tale, Feminine Endings, Observing the Formalities, The Sleeper in the Spindle, Witch Work, On Reeling Oberon, and Black Dog. So in the comments or in the chat right now, well, I'm just going to hang out with you guys because it's New Year's Day. And I'm sure we all have a little bit of a hangover right now, but it's good to hang out with friends. I want you to pick. Those are the stories. Top two, along with The Return of the Thin White Duke, will be getting ready. Read books to me. Okay, so a number of people have asked me this. Would anyone be interested in me starting a separate channel where I do some narration? Because if I have some people with interest, I actually would do that. The big thing is finding things that are out of public domain or in public domain, because I don't want to, like, go to jail or anything like that. Ooh, yes, Brown Holler, it does have shadow in it. Episode Club. You imagine little kids in smaller spaces is bad? No, you just get them crates. I mean, it makes the problem really easy. You just get them a crate. Is anyone going to tell me to burn in hell for that? Come on, please. Nobody's going to attack me for that one. Oh gosh, this. Oh, episode club. Are you saying making up a cocktail for whatever I'm reading? Because I'm reading a number of things right now. Like I'm currently reading The Lord of the Rings because I start it every day after Christmas every year, and I have since I was 14 years old. So I am on my reading of The Lord of the Rings. But other other books. Yeah, if I could come up with a cocktail, that would be good. Um, oh, trigger warning. I don't know how to do that. Oh, Mackenzie's saying it should be accompanied by two types of cocktails. So now Mackenzie's trying to get me drunk. Young lady, you should not be trying to get me intoxicated. It might be a horribly bad idea. You don't know what happens to ginger men when they're like extremely drunk. Actually, you do. You hung out with me for the entirety of Count of Thrones. But yeah, I could come up with that. I think I could. So yeah, anyone, please. What are your votes? I've had uh, some people want to hear the tale of Cassandra, and also Black Dog. I do have to give a warning if with the Black Dog story, It's huge, 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 ridiculous spoilers for American Gods. So if you're trying to watch it without reading it first, that will be huge spoilers. Mackenzie thinks I should just do shows where I narrate and drink whiskey, apparently. Would anybody want to watch that? Oh, Barbara McCullough. Um, I'll give you all the chapter names again. Does anyone know why there are so many blank pages in a book? Is anyone familiar with this? It's because of the way they cut the paper for a book and the way they bind it together. So they cut it into a ream that's actually like 16 pages and then punch it all together. So sometimes if a book is like a certain length, there will be blank pages at the front and blank pages at the back. Interesting fact if anybody wanted to know that. Okay, so Barbara, the titles of the stories are Making a Chair, A Lunar Labyrinth, The Thing About Cassandra, Down to a Sunless Sea, The Truth is a Cave in the Black Mountains, My Last Landlady, Adventure Story, Orange, A Calendar of Tales, The Case of Death and Honey, The Man Who Forgot Ray Bradbury, Jerusalem, Click Clack the Rattlebag, An Invocation of Incuriosity, and Weep Like Alexander, Nothing O'Clock, Diamonds and Pearls, A Fairy Tale, Feminine Endings, Observing the Formalities, The Sleeper and the Spindle, Witchwork, Inri League, Orlaren, and Black Dog. Oh, Brown Holler. I don't think Black Dog would be a Scotch. I think it'd be an Irish whiskey. I mean, I remember Black Dog stories from when I was a little kid, anyway, which I always thought were Irish, but I should probably research that. You know, Gaelic, we all shagged each other, so it's all like kind of a big mess about who told who what stories. And that is Celtic folklore, everybody. Invocation of Incuriosity or Lunar Labyrinth. Barbara, honestly, they are all cool. And seriously, if you can get yourself this book, it's a great freaking book. Um, it really is. I like everything by Gaiman. Like I've never come across anything by him that I do not care for. But this for me, short stories is my favorite medium, and this to me is his best short story collection. But yeah, so the Thin White Duke, yes, Brown Holler, you totally picked it up. It's about Bowie, which is awesome. It's also I love the stories that go behind half of these stories with like some of the authors who I really respect. Like he's like, oh yeah, Yoshitaka Amano is like, I'm doing some work with David Bowie and his wife. Do you want to write something about it? But and that's where these great stories come from. So I'm really excited about that. Oh, and Brown Holler says she's sorry she was thinking about the Monarch and the Glen for a sketch. Oh, that'd probably be a lowland scotch. It'd be pretty soft. This is coming from the Lefroy drinker. But no, that yeah, it I would I do like the concept that of what I was talking about there for a moment, that the Celtic beliefs, and we're not just talking about the UK and the British Isles. We're talking about most of the Iberian Peninsula and Germany and France. It I mean, that is what the Celtic people live, and that it's just kind of a mishmash, like all these ideas like thrown together, and like this little group chooses one of them or chooses another one or whatever. You know, we talk about Gaiman so much here, obviously, but one of the things I love is that when he's talking about in American Gods about Mad Sweeney, he's like, I once was a god. I once was this huge figure, and then each generation comes around from another country, and we get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And yeah, if you look at uh, history, you totally see that happens to so many deities. So yeah, new music videos coming up tomorrow. I'm going to let you all work off your hangovers and have to go back to work. And I'll have new music for you. I'll actually have a huge freaking video for you. And a playlist that'll last you probably most of the day. So, hope you enjoy that. Everyone who came out today, thank you so much. I know it's your New Year's Day. I hope this helped you work off your hangover a little bit. Or I hope that you just had a great time. Let's see. So next week we will be talking about The Return of the Thin White Duke. I'll go ahead and start out with that because I would like for people to have time to get in votes if they're watching this a bit in the afterwards. So, The Return of the Thin White Duke from Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman. Like I said, it's a great book. It's absolutely amazing. You can pick it up on Audible. You can pick it up on Amazon. Yeah, I'm going to do a few stories from here. The other two that I do from here, I'm letting all of you vote on and choose what is coming next. Then we will be discussing the mythology of Looney Tunes, which I am very much looking forward to. Just need to figure out what guests I'm going to have on there because that's going to be a big one. But in the meantime, new music is coming up tomorrow, and I'm going to let you all enjoy your New Year's Day or work off your hangover, whichever one, or both. So, please, POUR, don't follow leaders and plug parking meters. Be excellent to one another and party it.